Just going to share this really quickly. There we go. Okay. There we go. Okay. There we go. Hey, Mina. Welcome, beautiful. Oh my gosh, it's absolutely freezing in here. My poor little heater is like, it is too cold. I am not working. Like it's not starting. Oh, bless it. Hey, Aurora, welcome, beautiful. So grateful you ladies were able to make it. So good to see you. Ah, there it goes. Okay. Whew. It's it's my little temperature gauge says it's almost freezing in here. It's pretty well close to freezing, so I'm layered and surrounded by heaters. Okay. Oh, okay. So it looks like some of the buttons on here have changed. So just bear with me. Oh, no, 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 not that. Okay. All right. All right, just going to give this an opportunity to finish going live, and then I will start speaking into everything. For those that are interested in what is being discussed here, I do have a pre-recorded podcast session that I published, I think it was 2 days ago now. If you're interested in anything like that, it is available on my YouTube as well. I like to come on here and do these public lives so that I can interact with people in the chat for those that have questions. And especially because, when it comes to self development, it comes to self mastery, a lot of times we, at least from my own experience, we tend to not spend as much time or energy in that point of focus, just simply because either number one, we are simply not prepared to do the work, we're not committed to do the work, we're running away from commitment, we're running away from devotion. And this is because of, quite simply put, the way we've been conditioned, the way that our nervous system is operating. So, what I'm looking forward to speaking into and offering here is how you can reconnect with yourself through devotion and intimacy without falling away into this space of control, trying to fix something. So, and also too, the one thing I hear, and I've heard it in the chat here, I hear it through people, just in day-to-day exchanges. I see it also in other communities and other spaces that I'm a part of, that people don't know. They'll say something to the extent of, I don't know how to change, or I don't know what to do to change this. We also see how a lot of the language that we use is relational in its comparison to another person. So we're speaking in a way that is still seeing the world as something to blame. Like there's something in the world that we get to blame for what's happening within us. this is most common in partnerships, relationships, where someone believes that the partner is a narcissist, where the partner is abusive. And I've been in an abusive relationship, a very abusive relationship, physically, mentally, emotionally, all the things. And so when you are in that type of experience, it's very easy to blame the other person for what's going on. But the truth is that we don't just happen to come across that type of relationship by accident. We don't just interact with people by accident. There is no narcissist out there that just tracks us down and closes in on us by accident. There's also really not a narcissist that exists out there anyways. It's not the other person that's doing anything to you, just like people don't do anything for you. And this is something I also tell my clients, I'm not doing anything for you. I'm the mirror that gets to guide you and support you. So one of the biggest things I want to establish here in this conversation is that self-mastery is not, it's not domination of the self, but it's intimacy with the self. When your intimacy with yourself is based on this development throughout life that is highly conditional, then those conditions, they carry over into every experience that you have. And when we're in that way of perceiving, when we're in that condition, and pay attention here, I'm saying when we're in, I'm using those words very intentional. When we're in it, we cannot see beyond it. I use the terminology, you don't see the forest for the trees. When you're in it, you cannot see beyond it. So you're very limited in your scope. You're very limited in your perception. And if we look at it from that perspective, our approach is also limited. If I'm in a belief, if I'm in an assumption, if I'm in a state that can't see beyond that assumption, that can't see beyond that state, then I can't incorporate anything to help me expand beyond it, because I'm not able. Well, I don't know. It's not that I'm not able. It's that in that moment, I have definitively decided that this is absolute. There cannot be anything else. So as we go through life and we're discovering who we really are, to truly know who we are, we must understand who we are outside of those conditions, while also simultaneously giving ourselves permission to accept who we are within the condition. One thing, speaking of boundaries and accountability, one of the things I just discovered within the last 2 weeks was how I really did not know what true safety and security felt like in my masculine. I thought I did. And this is, again, it goes back to when you're in the state and you're seeing through that state, you think you know. And as I entered into this discovery, there was a phrase that was shared with me that I share all the time, which is that, forget what you think you know. And forgetting what you think you know empties you of knowing everything and nothing at the same time, so that you can actually receive yourself differently without being in that space of, oh, I can prove what I know because I know all about this. And since I know all about this, I can prove to you what I think I know. And that was a very powerful reminder, because I could feel myself, even though I was in the process of shifting out of an identity that very, very much believed that way in its own right. I really thought I knew what safety and security felt like. And for me, interestingly enough, even though I knew it was related to the masculine, a part of me, I feel like somehow associated it with the feminine. I associated it with holding space. I associated safety and security with being able to hold space and support, which is true. But what I didn't realize is how much I was not regulated in connection with boundaries, with regulations, with rules, with like a very strict outline of, okay, like in this new community I'm a part of, the rules and the regulations are very definitive. There's a legal waiver that's signed. You have to sign off on the rules and regulations. And at first, when I read these, they're very, very intense. And there's a whole page for this container, for this month-long container. And men are leading the container. And like I've shared a few times, my nervous system started freaking out. And what was going through my mind was, what if I can't do that? What if I can't follow through with that? What if something happens? What if my body's not able? What if my what if my phone doesn't connect? What if my internet dies? Like, all of the what ifs started pouring in, because that's how my nervous system recognizes rules and regulations. It says, if these are in place, then I can't move. Then there is nowhere to breathe. Then there is nothing. There is no leeway. I can't move beyond here because it feels confining. But the whole point is that rules and regulations are meant to contain. And when they're containing, they're safe. And we don't tend to actually understand what safety and security feels like. And I know even a lot of people that drop in here with what I'm sharing, 99% of people are not going to be interested in it. But that 1%, it's going to change their life. Because this is about this development of self, where you're going into your nervous system and you're learning who you are. You're discovering what that safety and security feels like. And so it's an opportunity to reconnect with yourself and reconnect with this devotion that is not coming from this all-knowing self that's willing to be in a moment like that, to be uncomfortable, to be challenged, to have all of the what ifs coming up, to sit with it and to consistently reinforce, like I did over the course of the few days, reinforcing to my nervous system that no, that just because I have identified rules, regulations, and outcomes in that way, it doesn't mean I have to do that right now. Right now, I get to be different. I get to choose different. I get to experience differently. So, and what was happening through me is I was also operating from this belief, this assumption that in order for me to be secure in this new identity, in order for me to be safe, I needed to be better, I needed to do more, and I needed to optimize harder. So it was about output. But underneath that, I also recognized that didn't feel right. Like, that's where I was wanting to go. That's how I was wanting to move. But at the same time, my nervous system was saying, but that's not what we agreed to. Yay, welcome, Samantha. I'm so grateful you're here. I'm so grateful. I feel like just really quickly, I actually feel like I was gonna keep this session today specifically just for our self-mastery group, and I feel like I'm probably gonna end up changing the access to it after the live to where it's just for the self-mastery group. But I had already shared the link and everything, so it's public for now. But I do feel like this is something that's meant to go. This is something that's meant to be really received through those that are in that agreement at this point in time, because you guys are not saying that no one else is, but just, we're on that pathway of commitment. I would invite everyone to step into it to some degree, to step into this agreement and this devotion within yourself, to truly explore who you are and be willing to accept that you don't know everything. Irregardless of what you've learned 2 days ago, that doesn't apply today. I mean, it's there, it's living through you if you've learned something from whatever you experienced 2 days ago. But pay attention to how you speak about your experiences. That's one thing I'm also aware of is, am I speaking from a space that knows it all, or am I sharing actual wisdom from an experience? And so this is like why I'm sharing about my nervous system and everything that's happened in that whole state. When I was becoming familiar with what rules, regulations, and boundaries actually feel like, I needed to be in a situation where my own perception could be challenged. And that wasn't happening. Hello and welcome. That really wasn't happening. I really wasn't being challenged by my perception or my concept of what I thought rules, regulations, and boundaries were. That's why I stepped into a space. I mentor others, and I stepped into a space to also be mentored. This gave me an opportunity to experience being challenged by someone. And the way that everything is, and people have already started trying to challenge those rules and fight back and resist and speak about how it's not safe and how they don't feel safe and all these things. A few people, not many, just like 2 or 3. And at the same time, these guys are like, these are still the rules. And it was very interesting how my nervous system responded when this conversation was happening in the chat, where there were those that were in a state of offensiveness and denial and rejection. And obviously I know what that feels like. That feels like shame. That feels like guilt. That feels like, well, you're not hearing me. You're not seeing me. You don't understand where I'm at right now. You don't understand what I need right now. You're not really trying to support me if you're not willing to see me where I'm at. But the truth is that they see us where we are. And that's the point. That's the point of the rules. That's the point of the regulation. That's the point. So that you don't excuse yourself out of the rules. So that you don't excuse yourself out of the game. It's teaching your nervous system how to play the game without always having a reason to run away and downplay or downsize yourself because something's wrong, because you just can't. There's always a reason why. So it's important to recognize. 1 second, you guys, if you don't mind, give me 1 second, and then I will finish that sentence. Okay. Sorry about that. I really needed to respond to that. So what was taking place was, I noticed it in my nervous system. I felt like my cheeks were getting flushed, even though I was not a part of what was taking place. Energetically, we're all there as a community, right? So my cheeks were getting flushed. I was feeling my heart rate racing. Like, oh, like I wonder, like, what's going to happen, or, how are they going to handle this, or how are these people going to feel? And being someone that also holds a space, as I have quite a few in here from the space, it's important. I know what it's like to be on that side and be challenged. I also know what it's like on the other side to feel challenged. And so I could literally feel my nervous system going back and forth between like the service, the person that's service operating and receiving the resistance and the feedback and the I can't do this and you don't hear me and you don't understand me and you're not supporting me and all the things that get projected onto us when we're serving. A lot of times from a mirror state, people project onto us what they think we are doing to them or what they think we should be doing for them. And you see, that's not support. That's not true support. When you show up in a setting like that, just like showing up here today or showing up in my self-mastery space, you show up based on the awareness of your own responsibility to yourself. If you can't step into a space and recognize that you are responsible, you are the one that is accountable, that everything is already there and outlined to support you. All that's required is for you to simply show up and put in that devotion and that effort, and you get everything out of it. But this is where a lot of times we have so much resistance because our nervous system growing up, because of school, because of parents, because of all of the things, we're so used to hierarchy and structure in a way that's dysregulated, not regulated. And so it's like this automatic need to fight back against the system, like to fight back against what we think is wrong. And we also fight back because we think people are supposed to support us in the way that we are in from that lack state. If I think that I lack something and I expect you to step in and to fill that void for me, then I'm not learning true safety and security. I'm not learning an abundance of my self-worth. I'm not learning that my self-worth is basically saying you can do anything you choose to do. You don't need someone else to fill that gap for you. So if you give yourself permission using your nervous system as a gateway, you begin to sense how you are really existing in your own life and in your own reality. And what I'm going to invite in for the remainder of our time together here is that you notice where you are right now. Like, even I know people, this is a public live, people drop in and they drop in the most random things, and it's a performance. It's a need to get attention. It's an attention grabber. And everyone is operating from performance. Look at me, look at me, look at me, pay attention to me. And there's nothing wrong with performance. We're all conditioned to operate from that state. It's about getting as much attention as we possibly can while simultaneously segregating that attention, only wanting attention in a very specific way, needing attention in a very specific way. And then if we don't get that attention in the way we want it, we reject it. And then the whole time we're going through life and we're actually resisting or not even aware of the true support that's available for us because we're looking for it in a certain way, right? You remember at the very beginning of this, the episode, I talked about how your lens is focused in a way that prevents you from seeing the forest for the trees. That's what happens. You don't give yourself permission to be available for real support. And real support, it's not a soft voice that's soft applauding you, that's telling you how great you are. It's up to you to recognize that you're absolutely wonderful. It's not somebody else's job or responsibility to coax you into that state. True support is a mirror that shines a light on your behaviors. It allows you to see how you're operating through your nervous system, where you're dysregulated, and how you can step into regulation. This is what I offer in all of my services. We enter into it from a state where you get to relive memories and discover your behaviors and your patterns from a state where you're not reactive. But that's the point. You're intentional and purposeful in actually going into it. So one of the things that's also I want to bring forward here, you guys, is that a lot of time when we're talking about self-development, people go into self-development in these achievement-based standards and definitions. And this also came up, I believe, for one of my clients that's here today. And she mentioned that, and I believe it's come up for a few of them, where we actually think that this is something that we're supposed to be checking off boxes for. It's like an achievement, it's a goal, and we want to be seen as achieving the goal, right? But there's a difference between devotion and discipline, control versus regulation. When you are actually regulated, you recognize the safety in the choice. You're not trying to control how safe you feel because of the choice. You don't have to control how you feel when you step into a decision, a choice, from a space that is already recognizing itself as being safe. But that comes from reinforcement. That's where the devotion is. That's where the faith lives. You implement without questioning and doubting. And there is a difference between questioning and asking, by the way. Questioning is doubt. Asking is curiosity. I can ask a question and be in curiosity. I can also question my actions from a space of self-doubt. So those are different vibrational principles there. So one of the keys to this, my loves, is that when your awareness precedes your willpower, then you begin to operate from a space of regulation. So I'm going to revisit this, what I just told you guys, this experience in my nervous system around this new container, this new group I joined that's based around self-development, embodiment. Very similar to what I offer, it obviously in its own way, teaching me many, many things about how to even offer my own space. The one thing that I kept doing over the course of those few days after seeing those rules, those guidelines, like you have to be there on time at every session, no questions asked. You can't be 2 minutes late. If you're 2 minutes late, you're kicked. You can't rejoin. You have to be available for 1 live out of the 3 every week. There's 3 lives a week. You have to be there for at least 1. You have to be on time. You have to be on camera. The lights have to be on. You have to be in a quiet space. You can't be in your car. You can't be driving. You have to be in a room that is well lit and you're on camera. You have to be able to interact. You literally have to go through a process of filling out information. Like I said, legal waiver, signing off on everything, or you get kicked. If you get kicked and you want to rejoin, there's a $50 rejoin fee. So there's a lot of things in this that I'm not used to. I'm not used to being told I have to have my camera on. I've never absolutely required that. I'm not used to being told that I can't be 2 minutes late. Like that one really freaked me out because me and being somewhere on time obviously have some issues. And there was a lot of things in that I don't ask of myself, and yet this was asking it of me. But leading up to stepping into that container, my commitment, my devotion, what my awareness was already choosing was a higher state of this like this type of commitment. I was already saying, I'm going to be more committed. I'm going to be more devoted. I'm going to actually start, shifting my behavior, shifting my habits. Every single day I'm going to be doing something that I would not normally do, like waking up exceptionally early, starting with a workout, dropping into my body instead of waiting so long to do that. So all of these things I was implementing throughout the day, leading up to me actually joining the space. What this was basically showing me was how serious am I to that level of responsibility. How serious am I to that level of commitment? And that was what was challenging me. That structure, and what happened is every single day I was sharing it with my group. I was like, you guys, like I was freaking out, but now like I just kept reinforcing, this is for the best. This is for the best. This is exactly what I need. This is for the best. So what I was doing is, even though my nervous system, and even as I'm speaking about it now, I can feel it a little bit. Even though my nervous system was wanting to fight me a little bit on my words, I was intentionally reinforcing this truth that no, this is what I'm committed to. This is where my energy goes. This is where my focus flows. This is where my devotion lands. And after the 3rd day, I was taking a shower, and then all of a sudden I was back to reinforcing that because some what ifs were coming up. All of a sudden my nervous system just opened, and it felt like I could breathe. Honestly, it felt like I guess I had not really been breathing fully. My nervous system had been restricted because it was afraid of accountability. It was afraid of rules. And I just felt like, this really is okay. Like, this really is safe. I really can do this. It's not asking too much of me. It's really not. Like, this really is safe. My body recognized it. My body reflected it. And then as soon as I went to sit down and grab a bite to eat, after that happened, I had a memory surface. I had some memories connected to my father that surfaced. And these memories came up when I sat down. I was going to eat supper and I was going to watch a TV show. And I'm sitting in my childhood bedroom. And I started recognizing what that action was representing. I sat down. My nervous system had already relaxed. It had already opened. And then sadness washed over me. Now, sadness isn't a feeling. Emotions are not feeling. We don't feel through emotions. We identify through emotions. So acute emotional responses, when they happen, it's like 60 to 90 seconds, a window. That's meant to be a guiding light, if you will. It's meant to be a reference point for where you get to take your awareness and where you get to take your self exploration and your curiosity. So sadness washed over me, and I was like, oh, that's interesting, because I was really just feeling very peaceful, very curious that this sadness is appearing. And so as I start moving through asking the questions, okay, so why is this appearing? What's happening? The thoughts started coming forward. The thoughts started showing me what the sadness was connected to. The thoughts were a part of my identity that believed that something bad could happen. So the thoughts were around my dog Bruiser, that he had not eaten all day. This old identity that I'm shifting out of still identified with that event as being something wrong. If he's not eating, something's wrong. It's bad. I'm not a good mom. I'm not taking care of him right. I've done something wrong. That stems from a lack of safety, a lack of regulated boundaries and rules, meaning structure. And my connection with him has never had full structure. And he's a male dog. That comes from my father, because my father loved me and enabled me. He also, I had rules growing up, but there was never like this consistency with understanding what safety and security felt like. I feel like all of us, and when it comes to learning safety and security in our nervous system, we are given so many standards and conditions to our life that we don't have the opportunity to really explore what's really happening in our body. And what happened in that moment was me exploring what was happening in my body. Sadness washes over me. I recognize that that's interesting because I wasn't sad. So I choose not to associate with the sadness. I choose to explore through the sadness. So they're connected to thoughts that have been passing throughout the day, thoughts that now found a safe place to be accepted, while simultaneously going deeper into my nervous system and discovering the line that it was connected to. So your nervous system is a compilation of data, and all that data is carrying the beliefs, and they all stem from core beliefs. And these core beliefs you've carried since childhood. And these core beliefs are where your assumptions are built on. Assumptions and beliefs are not the same thing. But if my core belief believes that I am not worthy, then I will live through the assumption that I'm never good enough, that I'm never chosen. I will live through assumptions that it's just not possible for me. So I will always assume that I am the worst, or that the worst is happening, or that it's just not possible. Better things aren't possible. And that's where I was with those thoughts, stemming from the core belief of unworthiness because of the relationship with boundaries, rules, and regulations, stemming from the relationship with my father. So this was all a masculine line and connection with men, and this allows me to explore it without judgment, just curiosity. And it also it appeared in that moment, because I wasn't trying. I was sitting down to watch TV. I was just eating some food. I was not trying to figure out anything. It was a moment where my nervous system opened, relaxed, and said, hey, here you go. Let's have a look. And that's how this process gets to be. If you're not, and also too, this is also this self-exploration. This is a key factor, you guys. And there's a very specific reason why I'm talking about this other group space. My awareness was activated through this other space asking me to step up and recognize myself. I do that for my group space. I do that for my clients, so on and so forth. If you're just doing this by yourself, you are not facing everything clearly. This is why we are in a reality with other people. We are in a relational simulation. And that relational simulation is based on the relationship we have with ourselves. That relationship is built on a lot of key factors that we do not normally look at clearly, nor do we commit or devote ourselves to looking at through the exchange or connection with other people. And what happens is we try to upgrade our lives while standing inside an unexamined identity. We know that things get to change. We know we want change. We know there are things that need to change, but we're standing literally inside the identity, looking at the world through the identity that does not believe that it can change. So therefore it becomes forced. It becomes this discipline, achievement that's needed and necessary without an awareness of the deeper truths that live beyond your scope of perception. So what I would always invite in, and I've always said this and I'll always say this, explore this alongside other people. Either join a space or exchange with someone individually in a private session. Do something where you're challenged, and do it in a way where you know nothing. That's the point. The only way you learn is you don't go into it knowing it all, because if you know it all, you don't learn. You're not able to learn because you've already decided you know it all. So that vibrational currency, that frequency that you're trying to exchange with is already blocked. It don't need anything else. It's already above everybody. So when you stand in the know-it-all, you're already saying, I'm better than everything that's coming towards me. I know everything. I don't need any of this, and therefore you can't learn. That's a control. That's a control. That's and this is also something that was very interesting in one of the last sessions I had with one of my clients, when I was asking, we were moving through the nervous system, also reviewing father line. That's something that's very present right now. And I was just asking questions like I do to prompt the reflection, to prompt the memory, to prompt the review. And her response was an automatic response. It was actually a reaction from the need to control. And my question was around the cornerstone of this entire space of exploration, which is faith. Faith and devotion go hand in hand. And I was asking the question in a way that if she were to approach it where faith was the one guiding, and if abandonment isn't real, abandonment is actually just what we perceive to be abandonment because we feel like we're unworthy and somebody is leaving us behind, it's just redirection. And that course of redirection is happening completely by design. It's happening by the design you yourself chose to be in that situation. You yourself chose to have that experience, and you yourself choose which way you're going to go from that experience. It's all by design. And even if you can't really see the bigger picture, it's always there. And so when I asked this question, she wanted to know, well, redirected where? Where would faith take me? Where would I go? What would happen? And I asked her, I said, well, why does it matter? Thank you. I said, well, why does it matter? Why does it matter? Why do you need to know where faith is taking you? Why do you need to know what that redirection looks like? Where is that statement coming from? And then she wanted to go into explaining what she meant. I said, no. Back up. Don't explain, express. Let's review where the words are coming from. Why do you feel you said those words to begin with? And through further review, it was coming from a feeling of being out of control. That's why I want to know. I want to know because I don't feel in control if I don't know. If you don't tell me the answers, if I don't know what faith has in store for me, then I don't feel in control. And of course, that was a even deeper space of inheritance from her father line. I mean, deep. Going back to her father's father, her father's father's father. So we were able to trace the whole line back, and she was able to, like all these sessions, able to have the experience from the ancestors' point of view, which is exceptionally powerful. Because when you're seeing your reality, 9 times out of 10, you're seeing it from the me standpoint, the me and the mind, what's happening to me, what is mine, so that perception is very restricted, and it is not reviewing it from the all. And so that is one of the beautiful things that I do offer from these sessions, is allowing everyone to see it from the vantage point of the all, the parallels, the parallel realities, the ancestors, and before that. So whenever, absolutely distorted masculine. And that distorted masculine is obviously because there are moments throughout our life where we had a moment where we were not chosen, where someone or something else was chosen over us. Our masculine is a structural foundation that lives in the safety and the security of boundaries and of rules. And it's safe because we know what to expect, but not the expectation that wants to know the outcome. The expectation that's aware that there's containment, there's structure. So that's how the 3D forms through a pure masculine. The structure is clear. You're aware of where your expectations lie. You're aware of what you're allowing. You're aware of your assumptions. You're aware of your beliefs. So a lot of times these things are not necessarily focused on in self-development, or manifestation or spiritual communities, because it's, number one, obviously a lot of things are easier to sell when people think they're getting a quick fix. When somebody thinks that they're just getting a self-help book that's going to tell them everything they need to do, and then they can just read that and go on and boom, you're a master, you got it, you don't need to do anything else. But this is a day-to-day devotion to self. And you're absolutely right. Expectations they can be the root to misery if that expectation is coming from a space of one of those core belief systems that are in like lack, abandonment, judgment, shame, anything like that. So, and the interesting thing about that is we suffer because we're not aware of our own expectations. When we're living from the expectancy of bad things happening, we're suffering unnecessarily. Pain and suffering are two separate things, you guys. Pain does not necessarily mean suffering. We can experience pain and it not be unnecessary suffering, okay? Let's see. So by opening, you are able to let loose control and found it as your next. Yes. Yes. So now the way that I was able to let loose, or to loosen the grip on control, was I had to first recognize what was controlling. Where was I controlling? And that was coming from obviously here's the outline. If Bruiser eats, then I feel like I'm doing a good job. I feel like I'm being a good mom. I feel like I'm supporting him like I'm supposed to. And I also have associated him eating as me feeling better about myself. Obviously, I mean, we want everyone we love to eat, go to the bathroom, do the things, the necessities. But to show you an expanded vantage point on that, is that true? Obviously, if I assume that that's the only way things look, then that's the only experience I have. And that experience will show up very polarized. There'll be days where he eats and he eats good and he has a good day. And then there's the other side of that he doesn't eat, he's lethargic and he's limping. You know what I'm saying? There will be a polarity because my core belief says my emotions dictate my choices. So before I make a choice, I have to feel that I'm emotionally secure. So I would go into feeding him from this state of, I'm only going to feel good if you eat this food. Emotions should never precede a choice. Not only should they never precede a choice, but you should never make a choice from emotions. Because emotions, like I said, are not really what you feel. You don't feel emotions. You identify through them. Feeling is a sensation. True feeling is butterflies in my stomach, tension in my right shoulder, pain in my lower back, inflammation in my joints, coldness, cold sensations in my feet, heat in my face. Those are nervous system responses from your ANS, your autonomic nervous system, which oversees your parasympathetic, your sympathetic, and your somatic. So you have a lot of information passing through your ANS that is looping based on beliefs that you never look at, assumptions that you never examine, and patterns of choices that are leading with emotions that you don't actually feel. This means that we enter into things from a space that's already dysregulated, hoping something on the other end will make us feel better and regulate us. So whenever when I was seeing this more clearly around Bruiser, even though I knew that I didn't want to believe in bad things happening, I was still operating from the assumption that if he doesn't eat, then something's wrong. Because my emotions, the emotional attachment I had to him eating was still being chosen. I still chose to go into the feeding of him from an emotional standpoint, vantage point, viewpoint. And with that, if he didn't eat or he doesn't go outside, he doesn't go to the bathroom when I think he should, then I feel bad. I feel ashamed. I feel like guilty. I feel like I've done something bad. I don't really feel that, but you see how I associate it? I feel, and then I'm not really feeling because I'm associating how I feel through my identity, thinking I'm feeling when I'm not really feeling. So then I'm not actually aware of what I'm feeling. There's so much happening, you guys, that we're not actually aware of. And so when you give yourself an opportunity to really be with your nervous system, you're approaching your body, your beliefs, the repetition of the looped behavior. You're reviewing all of it. One of your superpowers is knowing your why. People, when you hear know thyself, knowing your why is everything. You're exactly. You're absolutely right, Samantha. And that's what a lot of these spiritual spaces say. It's basically like you have to come in here and you have to do this, or there's that dependency on something external to fix it for you, like angels or dragons or a god or a goddess or even God, the source. God source universe is there in full support, lovingly, always, but doesn't do anything for us. God source universe works through us, not for us. We're not like whoring ourselves out to God source universe. God source universe, isn't our pimp. So, okay, I've heard you. I'm just gonna do this right there. So I just setting up a boundary here. I do not accept any kind of unsolicited, flirtatious energy. I didn't ask for it. I said thank you for the compliment, but I didn't ask to be consistently bombarded. So with comments like that, I will just go ahead and just for this chat, I will hide you and not allow you to consistently send those. So what happens is the nervous system, and even in spaces like that, your nervous system is looking. It's looking, it's searching, it's looking, it's searching, it's looking, it's searching. It's like, okay, the miracle's here. It's searching, it's looking, it's waiting, it's expecting. And then guess what? Just like when people go to these retreats, they go to these retreats expecting some miraculous event to occur because they're in a special location. They're in Fuji or Mount Shasta, or they're in Bali, and all of a sudden they're in a magical place that's supposed to magically fix them, that's supposed to magically offer them something. But the truth is that what's really happening is you're bypassing who you are in hopes that you're going to become something else. And that's a part of the I am that is expecting big things instead of taking big aligned action with intention and purpose, which actually offers change. You show up to these spaces expecting something big and magical and miraculous to happen, or you have an experience because you believe that's the experience you're supposed to have. And then when you leave that space and it starts to wear off, then you're right back to where you started. Nothing really changed. The plant medicine doesn't change you. The activation doesn't change you. It's all you. And I'm a advocate. I love plant medicine. I actually am not microdosing like I used to, because I'm not. And let me tell you what took place there. Speaking of this miraculous expectation, I was microdosing with a lot of, if not most all of my activations. And that was because I was living from a space of performance. I need to be able to perform the activation. I need to be able to offer something big, something magical. I need to be the channel that offers something big. Yeah, of course, my dear. Please feel free. And thank you. Thank you. I'm going to go back to some of your stuff here in just a little bit, and because there's some deeper stuff there that I'll review. But thank you. I would love for you to share. So I was operating from this performance. I need to be able to stand on the stage. I need to be able to perform. I need people to be able to see that I can do this. And of course, I knew that my living relationship with the medicine was one that was serving, but I couldn't fully see that service because I was still hiding behind the performance, hoping people were having a good experience, expecting the worst. Like, I always knew that there was going to be one or two that had some reason why they couldn't have a good experience. And it was like my goal, like this achievement. If I can just get these people that always have difficulty having experiences, if I can just get to them, then I've achieved it. I've reached my pinnacle. I've done the job. That wasn't it, you guys. It wasn't it. I was not being true to myself. I was trying too hard to please everyone else instead of just being authentically me. Here, right now, I'm authentically me. I'm sitting here, I'm talking to you, I'm sharing my wisdom. It's not chopped into a 15-minute, video. It's not a 3-minute clip. It's a little bit deeper than that. But that's intentional. Okay? Because if you're willing to give yourself an opportunity to be here for this amount of time, then you're willing to devote yourself to the message and to the process. And I know 95% of people don't stick around for the entire space. That's okay. But the truth is that it's never about, if we go into something from that belief of, I don't have enough time, I need to get this perfect. If I'm worried about what other people think or say, that's how I used to be in these offerings. I go into it just waiting to hear that people had a good experience. Now when I step away, I'm done. I forget about it. I don't care. It's not that I don't care. I care, but I don't care in that way anymore. I'm not dedicated to needing someone else to validate me in that way. I know this is reaching those that it's meant to reach. I know that it's connecting with those it's meant to connect to. And I know that those that are willing to take this journey will commit to it wholeheartedly. So we have to remember that if we're not showing up for ourselves, we're always going to be showing up hoping something will fix us, hoping something will change us, jumping into one choice after another, hoping for that miracle, hoping for that person, that next person to be the one that does it for us, hoping that we can just finally have what we've been searching for. If you're not, if you do not live in the version of you that you're hoping for, you will be existing through the phantom reality of hope for your entire life, chasing whatever it is you think you need out there from whoever it is you think is going to give it to you. It was never the plant medicine that wasn't serving. Plant medicine's great. But if you're running into it, if you're running into the retreat, if you're going through the whole performance of it and not doing a damn thing to change who you really are, then it doesn't matter. None of it matters. And the change happens when you let go of this need to just hold so tightly to your identity that you're choking yourself and you're choking the life out of yourself. You're not willing to shift from one identity to the other because every opportunity to do so, you have a reason why you can't. Every opportunity to harness in a new boundary, you have a reason why you can't. Every opportunity to change the way you feel about it, you have a reason why you can't. Every opportunity to see the world through a lens of rose-colored glasses, I can't do that. Not me. No, it's just not me. I can't do that. I can't do that. I'm not able to. It's just, I'm so special that I'm the only one in the world that can't do that. And that validation, that self-seeking validation you heard me say that you don't want to go into a choice from feeling you don't want to make a choice from emotion. That's what self-seeking validation does. It's chasing the high of what it thinks it's supposed to be feeling around the concept of the process itself. If you think the process is supposed to feel like someone making you feel lit up inside, you are living on an illusion of bliss, which was followed by a choice of excitement, which was made from a need to be seen as doing whatever it is you think you needed to do. You were already gone through the seeking when you made that choice. You were already following whatever it is you thought you needed to be doing instead of being with yourself and saying, okay, well, why is this showing up? Why do I feel compelled to make this choice? What is here for me to see? What is here for me to learn? What am I really feeling in my body? What is this really showing me? Where is this actually coming from? What are my assumptions? Asking the questions delivers you with everything you need to know about yourself. When you know thyself, you know why you do what you do. And if you don't know why you're doing what you're doing, then you're just going to be run around just doing things because you think you're supposed to, just because other people are doing it. And you won't really know why. Now, your patterns are not your enemies, and you're not trying to force change on yourself, because your nervous system keeps score long after the story is changed. You're picking up on environmental cues, subtle messaging that you're not even aware of. Your insight alone, your aha moments, they don't dissolve the patterns of belief alone. This is why, like I always tell my clients, you can have the realization all day long, but if you're not living through the shift, that big aligned action that's going to create the movement that's going to allow you to live as the version that is expressing itself in the aha moment all the time. Like, it's not like a big excited moment, but you're living as the wisdom. You learned the lesson. You don't need to operate in that way anymore. You don't need to speak that way anymore. You don't need to think that way anymore. You don't need to feel that way anymore. So if you're trying to bring any of those habits with you into the new identity, then you're not living through aligned action. You're living through, I figured it out. I know it all. And then you still feel the same. You still have a body that doesn't support you. You still have emotions that break you down. You still have a life that doesn't seem to fit all together. And this is because you're not being fully open and honest with yourself. Well, I would say you're probably not being open and honest with yourself, but you're not revealing all of yourself to yourself. And especially if you're trying to do it alone, you're always going to be stuck between your own blinders. Your own peripheral vision is going to cloud your vision. You're always going to think you got it because there's no challenge. There's nothing that's ruffling your feathers. There's nothing that's asking you to level up, to step up, to kick up your game. And if you fight that the entire time, then you've basically just bypassed every opportunity that you consistently say you wish you had. Right? We walk around, I wish I had all these opportunities. I wish I could change my life. I wish I could feel better. I wish I could live healthier. I wish I could change. I wish. And then every opportunity to do so, you have a reason why you can't. So there has to be a willingness to loosen the grip, to stop trying so hard, to live in the space of intensity. When you feel yourself getting worked up because there's a reflection coming at you, like when I was witnessing that exchange in the chat, and I was witnessing what I felt in my nervous system and my body around all the rules and regulations, I could have very easily stepped in. And this is also, we're also not allowed to offer unsolicited advice. We're not allowed to put, like, every chat is dedicated to very specific, like, subject matter. You don't leave one set, like, you don't pour material into one chat that's meant for another chat. You could be kicked. So it's, like I said, very regulated, very contained. You know what goes where. But because we tend to jump into things and we want to get ahead of ourselves, we don't want to give ourselves an opportunity to slow down and take everything in and get a feel for everything, review everything, do our due diligence. We jump into projecting. And then when we're called into, hey, this is about accountability and responsibility, and you're just running around projecting everything everywhere. When you're called out, we're not used to being called out. Not usually, not with true love, support, and unconditional acceptance. And having someone stand in that position and not move, saying, no, you need to take responsibility. We're not used to that. We're always used to being able to bend and being able to break and being able to basically excuse ourselves out of situations that we're uncomfortable in, or we just run away altogether and we drop it. Welcome, Omar. And we're so used to running away and making it seem like we can do this, right? We can do this. But the truth is that inside, we don't really feel like we can. We don't like a strong mirror. We don't really want to see ourselves. And I know in my own experience with the group that I lead, with the clients, I like I said, I felt myself on both sides, because I've had those that fight back against me when I stand in that position and say, no, you need just be with this, go back, review it, listen to your message, listen to your voice, be with where you're at, instead of jumping into trying to explain yourself, instead of jumping into projecting what you think is being said. Sit with the message, review it more thoroughly, allow yourself to process it, and pay attention to where you are when you receive the message. A lot of times we go into receiving thinking we're receiving, but we're not actually receiving. We're already projecting what we think we know onto the moment. And then when the message comes through, we didn't really hear the message. We heard what we thought was there. We heard what we thought we knew. And we're already ready to fight back and defend ourselves. True receiving is patient, it's intentional, and it's purposeful. And so it's taking in everything that's there, it's digesting it, it's allowing it, it's processing it, and then the reflection from the self comes back from a space that's aware. not unconscious. And if we accept that, the mirror isn't something that is trying to control us. The mirror is inviting us into an elevated state to meet ourselves, where we just simply have not been giving ourselves permission to do so. Because again, we come into the moment ready to say what we think instead of being with what we feel. And there was a beautiful moment in that dialogue, and there was, there were those that were able to work through their shame. There were those that were able to work through their resentment and the things that were coming up, and they stayed, and those that didn't. And that's the way it's supposed to be, because you make a choice. Like my space, the self-mastery space I lead, it's a free space. Anyone can come into it at will, but there are, these are also something I'm implementing now. There's rules now, and I'm getting that typed up. I also have a website. I have a whole bunch of stuff that's available now, you guys. I'm really, really just so happy with where everything's at. But these rules and regulations that I'm now applying to the group space are going to be to allow people to see that it's a free space. You're welcome to be there. You can be there, you can join, you can receive. But if you're going to be there, then we need to honor what the space is about. We need to honor the accountability of the space. That way it's contained. Everyone's on the same page. There's no just spamming and sharing what you think everybody wants to receive, sharing what you think everybody should see, sharing what you think everybody should know. That's your ego trying to play in the game of spirit without an awareness of itself. Ego is always playing with spirit. It's just, that's a lack of awareness. So as you're choosing to be with the feeling, as you're choosing to be within yourself, you're choosing to rediscover what real feeling is. You can identify all the things that are coming up, and you can also identify the why. You can share the wisdom of what you've learned. You can offer that as an opportunity for others, or just simply for yourself. And in doing so, if you're truly dedicated, if you're truly devoted, and you give yourself permission to see the patterns for what they are, they're early warning systems. That's what they are. If you give yourself permission to pay attention, and instead of going into the reaction, you see the reaction as a memory in motion, then you get to explore with curiosity. That's all reaction is. It's just a memory that has not been examined. It's a memory that's still living from a belief, from a system, from a state that it doesn't feel safe. And it's fighting back, or it's trying to run away, and it doesn't think it can, so it fights back. It's like pulling a rubber band and bouncing back, pulling a rubber band and bouncing back. Because until you face it, it's trying to go, it's going all over the place because it doesn't know where to go. It doesn't know who it is. It doesn't know where it fits in. Because in that moment, in that memory, that version of you in that moment decided that wasn't a safe moment. It wasn't, you weren't needed, you weren't necessary, you weren't chosen, you weren't loved. Whatever the messaging was that you relayed to yourself, whatever meaning you assigned, it was a meaning that you didn't like that much. And we tend to go towards what we like instead of what we don't like. And this is why where we get really disconnected in thinking that we know what we want and having no awareness of what we actually need. We're chasing what we want through unrealized needs based on what we think is best, but we don't actually know who we are to be able to say we know what's best. We don't even know what we need because we're too busy chasing what we want. It's impulsive, it's impulsive. And so my invitation for everyone is to just pay attention to your impulses, pay attention to your reactions. It's showing you where you get to explore yourself. And that gives you an opportunity to know yourself. Because self-mastery, it's physiological, it's not philosophical. It's all somatic. It's all nervous system. And when people say it's not the mind. It has nothing to do with the mind. If you were just focusing on mindset change, that would be true. But your nervous system is your mind. You have different minds that live through your nervous system, different mental capacities, different frequencies of thought form, different frameworks of consciousness. And the one that, and all of them work simultaneously to one another. The only way that you can channel your spirit in connection with your ego is to be the conscious mediator, to see that both are available. But the only way that spirit can live through you is if ego is not restricting spirit. And that's where faith comes in. Ego will try to keep spirit out because it feels like I don't know what's going to happen next. I don't know where I'm really going. Like the path isn't clear. That's spirit. And if the path isn't clear, then I don't want it, and I don't want to have anything to do with it. And that's where your identity will reject faith. It'll reject trust. It'll go into doubt. It'll go into what ifs. And instead of just acknowledging the what ifs, it'll live through them. The entire life, like your entire life will be lived as what ifs. So I'm going to go ahead and just begin to close this out, you guys. And I want to offer you some questions if you're open to receiving them for those that like to explore deeper. And I want you to remember that your I am engine, it's having an awareness of how your I am governs. It silently governs your decisions. So if I believe that I am not capable, if I believe that I am unworthy, that belief is going to govern how I choose. Obviously, if I'm unaware that that's how I'm choosing, then I will choose without the awareness of my why, which is the governing engine of my I am, and I will just be unconsciously moving through life. And so to fully implement this, like I said, you want to do it through the body, not with an awareness of the mind, but through the body, paying attention to sensations. If you're going into identifying how you feel instead of what you feel, then you know you're pulling away from the somatics and you're going into the identity. What you feel is sadness. What you feel is grief. What you feel is joy. What you feel is excitement. What you feel is bliss. It's a what. It's a thing. It's not a space. So if you're going into what you feel, you're identifying, okay? How you feel, how are you feeling? How is it happening? What, like that how, or where in your body and how, that's when you're going to start moving through the sensations. So how am I feeling in my body? Maybe stiff, maybe tight, maybe tense, maybe open, maybe relaxed, maybe cold, maybe hot. That's how. And I can go deeper beneath the how by exploring the like why do I feel this way? Why is my how showing up that way? So those are ways that you can go through exploring your nervous system, and adding some processes of regulation. So in your I am, like I mentioned in the previous episode of my recorded podcast, it doesn't stand alone. So whatever follows your I am is going to be governing your choices. So be aware of that. And also be aware of the hidden contracts you make with struggle, complexity, complication, effort, proving. If you believe things are just super complex and complicated, you've made an agreement. You're saying that's just the way things are and they can be no other way. If you believe that abundance requires effort, you've made an agreement that you can only experience abundance if you put in an excess amount of effort. Be aware of your hidden contracts. And also be aware of how self-development stalls when identity becomes rigid. When your identity is unmoving, like I mentioned early on, like you have every opportunity to shift your dynamic and you have every reason why you can't. You're rigid. You're frozen. You're unmoving. Self-development cannot happen from that space because there's no space to move. It's rigid. It's unmoving. It's unmovable. It's already determined that there is no other way. This is the only way, and nothing else can help me. No one else can help me. Which actually, what happens on the other side of that is you're always seeking someone to help you. You're running around trying to find someone and something to fix you. That's because you're actually unwilling and unmoving. You're rigid in your identity, and you're not willing to explore self-development. You're only willing to explore self-seeking need. I want this, I need this. I want this, I need this. I want this, I need this. Which actually isn't aware of a true need. It's only aware of what you think you want because you think it's going to help you, because you're not willing to help yourself. And you're very welcome. You're very welcome. I'm so grateful. And all of you guys that are here are either in community with me or have been in community with me. So it's really beautiful. It's so cool because I literally was going to put this session today on whatever it is where you have to have the link only or whatever, where it's not unlisted. I was going to put it on unlisted and make it just for the group, which I believe I'm going to leave it that way on upload. But for anyone that is here today, if you would like the replay and you've been here and you've attended, just let me know. I believe everyone here knows how to reach me that's on here right now. Just reach out and I'll send you the link. You're very welcome, Mina. And so as we prepare to go into the questions really quickly, I want to remind you guys that most transformation isn't about creating a new self. It's about relaxing the grip around the one that you're defending so tightly that you're not willing to explore anything else. Because this new identity, it's new because you're exploring life differently. You already exist from that space that you're trying so hard to get to. And if you're doing it on your own, if you're putting in tons of effort, you have to give yourself permission to break those bonds and to say, okay, no, I need that contact. I need that relational exchange, because everything is relational in this reality. If you're not having an intentional relational exchange, you're going to miss a large portion of it. That's just the way it is. That's why we're in this school. This specific school is relational and to that degree. Okay, if you guys want to write these questions down, if anyone needs a minute, let me know. And these are questions that you get to sit with and be with. For those that are in my self-mastery group, if you answer these and you would like to share those in the space, you're more than welcome, or you can share them with me privately. And for anyone watching the replay that's from the space, same thing, of course. And if there's anyone here that's interested in joining the space, you're more than welcome to. As others begin to step in, I am going to have the rules and the regulations typed up. So I will require that people sign that and agree to it before stepping in. So, but anyone that's interested that would like to, just reach out to me on Instagram. I'll have all the things in the description, and my website is now live. I also have an app that's connected to it. It's just live as of today. There's still some things that I'm tweaking, but everything is, you can access. Payments are available now. I've got it available. You can directly schedule a session with me. You can pay online. Everything is, at least those things are available. If you go to do that and you have an issue, I'm using my old business email for right now because the support and the info emails are live, but I think I still have to double check on those. So eventually though, those emails will be available, so you can contact me in a specific inbox, and then you can receive support at a specific inbox. But for right now, we're just going to use my old email address. Or if you have connections with me on Instagram or Messenger or WhatsApp, you can reach me on there as well. That's completely fine. So everything right now is based on this right here. All of my mentorships, my one-on-one sessions, it's all about this process. I also have my certification. I have my completing my NTT certification at the end of next week. So that's going to be something that's going to be there to support everyone as well. So plus my own process, which is matrix memory resolution along with NTT therapy. So just letting you guys know. Okay, so if you're ready for the questions, here we go. What pattern are you currently watching instead of trying to fix? And I want to highlight that word trying. Yeah, I want to see how people respond. I was going to change that, but no, I want to leave that there. That's intentional. What pattern are you currently watching instead of trying to fix? That way I can see where those responses are coming from. I forgot I put that in there for that reason. Okay, I'll repeat that one more time. What pattern are you currently watching instead of trying to fix? Okay, number 2, where do you notice control masquerading as growth? Where do you notice control masquerading as growth? And that's, I honestly, I feel like that second one, well, they're all big right now, honestly. But that notice where control is masquerading as growth, I feel like that's a big one. I'm feeling sleepy. I'm not for sure what you mean, Omar. Okay, and the third one, what happens in your body when you slow down enough to feel yourself? Number 3, what happens in your body when you slow down enough to feel yourself? And if you would like for me to repeat any of those, please let me know. You have to remember you're not diagnosing, okay? We're not diagnosing. There is no diagnosis. Well, my dear, one thing I'm going to invite in is when you tell somebody how they look and what they need to do, you're offering them something that you might not necessarily know. I'm actually not tired and I'm not exhausted. I have been up since early, but I don't feel tired, nor do I feel exhausted. I appreciate you being concerned, but that's a really good practice, is to not offer unsolicited advice. That's actually something I spoke about earlier on in the session, and I'm not saying that to be rude. I'm not saying that to attack. It's something in this new space that I'm a part of is actually one of the rules. And that's a big one for me because I have a tendency to offer unsolicited advice. So I'm just offering it as an opportunity for us all to apply it without assuming we know what someone else needs. You know, that's because I jumped in that group space and offered some unsolicited advice and I had to quickly delete it. I was like, yeah, that's not what I need to do. Okay, yes. Do you need me to repeat all the questions? I'll go through them all again, and then if you want to, you can come back on the replay and receive them, since I've repeated them quite a few times here. Number 1, what pattern are you currently watching instead of trying to fix? Where do you notice control masquerading as growth? And number 3, what happens in your body when you slow down enough to feel yourself? Feel, F-E-E-L. What happens in your body when you slow down enough to feel yourself? Feel yourself, F-E-E-L, yourself. Yeah, it's, leading a space and doing this work, I realized where, when it's almost like this role we take on throughout our lives. I mean, yes, I'm a coach. Yes, I offer a service. Yes, I support and guide others, but that's in my contracts, in my reality, in where people are literally, when you step forward and you say, yes, I would like to receive your support, you're agreeing to it. This is something I've always shared with others, is that, oh, and by the way, really quickly, Omar, those questions, you're meant to be with them and sit with the answers in your body, and allow yourself to allow your body to give you the response instead of just your thoughts. Be with the sensations and the feeling. Allow your body to share the response as much as your mind. Okay. With the unsolicited advice, just because I stand in that role doesn't mean I'm supposed to be out here telling everyone what they get to do and what they should do and when they should do it. Obviously, when I'm on this platform, I'm on my platform, I'm offering my wisdom. This is my service. This is where I serve from. But if I was just going through life and talking to someone out, in a parking lot somewhere, and I just started giving them unsolicited advice that they didn't ask for, just because I think that I know what they should do better than they do, then I'm not serving. That's not service. And that's something I've always said, that you cannot tell someone what they should do, because if they're not in an agreement with you to receive it, then they can't receive it. It's not for them. You're just telling them that because it makes you feel better about what you know. That's the know-it-all. So it's a good practice, absolutely. Yeah, good awareness around that. That's wonderful, Mina, that you had that awareness. When, and a good practice is, and this is again where I'm at within myself, is realizing that if I'm going to be someone that truly understands, then every choice I make demonstrates the understanding, not just my words. My words represent me, and I understand everything that lives through my words when I'm in a space of representing myself clearly. So if I'm truly devoted to living without performance, then I'm not doing it because of something. I'm not doing it because someone told me. I'm not doing it because someone else is doing it. I'm not doing it because I feel like I need to be seen as doing it. I'm doing it because it's a natural process. Like, it's just the way I'm moving. This most recent shift where I literally rebranded myself. I finally got a website up. All the actions I've been taking have been coming from an identity that just doesn't believe, think, or see things in the same way as I used to. I used to be so against websites. I used to be so against the whole business structure. I felt that it was limiting, that it was spiritual bypassing. I felt like people that jumped on the whole thing with websites, that they were just trying to generate a lot of money. But I've also seen where obviously believing that way was restricting me from reaching more people, because not everyone is going to reach out privately to me to connect. Some people don't feel comfortable that way. They want to connect with me, but sometimes for them, access point to a website is how they reach me. Like, that's just the way they're supposed to be able to reach me. And I was restricting that. I was restricting my reach, letting it be more accommodating for me to receive myself back through others. So just things like that, not taking action towards that, limiting my action because I thought that it wasn't good, it wasn't necessary, that I could do this without it. I mean, obviously you can, but I can also see where it really does serve and support to have that access point. So in order for me to offer my services where I'm at right now, I had to stand in that version of me that was doing things completely differently. I couldn't still operate behind this guise of, oh yeah, well, I've had the realizations. I know I'm not supposed to be doing this. I know I could be doing that better. And then nothing changes. Parts of my life seem better and other parts don't. Some days seem really good and other days seem really bad. And that's because I'm ping ponging all over the place when I'm not taking massive aligned action from within the lesson learned and the realization. That's what I always heard that, and I never fully understood it until now. I get it. I know what that massive aligned action looks like, and I know why it's necessary. Because where I'm at right now, I thought all of this was going to be so hard. I put it off for so long because I felt exhausted thinking about it. It did not feel like my nervous system would be like, well, I don't know where to start. I don't know what to do. I don't know where to begin. So I'm not going to begin. What if I do begin and then I don't get it figured out and everything crashes and burns around me? What are people going to think? All of those things were controlling my choice because I was emotionally attached to some outcome, and I wasn't allowing myself to explore myself from a space that wasn't trying to reach the outcome. And that's where I keep bringing myself back to. If I had it all, like if everything was already taken care of, the website, the rebranding, if my services were live, if I had a booked schedule, what would I do? What would my day look like? How would I feel? Like, how would my nervous system feel? And that's where I've been returning myself back to again and again and again, is living from that space that doesn't need to do something in order to achieve something. And that's been a game changer. Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Hang on, sometimes that's growth, sometimes it's just me trying. Yep, That's that cornerstone. You'll hear this earlier in the session, by the way, if you choose to go back, and I would highly recommend going back and receiving the whole totality that's here. Because what you're mentioning right here is something I spoke about throughout the session, and that's about faith. When we try to optimize an outcome, when we need that, we need to know what's going to happen next. We need to know what it's going to look like, or else we don't feel safe. That's where we've learned that faith is an idea. It's philosophical, but to live through faith is not safe. That's what we've learned. That's what we've been taught. Faith happens in a book. Faith happens by idea. Faith is philosophical. But the true abundance, like what you're talking about, when you slow down, your body feels less guarded. It feels like it's been waiting for permission to relax. Your breath deepens. Everything feels quieter. That's that space. That's the space of receiving. True receiving is where we are present and we are available for whatever happens without expecting anything specific to happen to us. I don't meditate, not necessarily. No, I sit with my body and I explore my nervous system. I guess in a way it's a form of meditation. I don't like labeling it as meditation because there's so much around that word that I feel can be misconstrued. Because a lot of times people go into meditation trying to get something out of it. The process that I go through, the process that I take everyone through, is it's serving, but you're not going into it expecting to get something out of it. There's an agreement that we hold like when I take clients into this space. And when I take them into this space, it's just an awareness that you're just remembering. You're not trying to get anything. You don't need anything. You're just exploring what's already there. You're rekindling your connection with your own memories, which a lot of times people think that either they think they can't remember. I had a client move through that. Now she is. I think she's still here. And I've also had those that remember vividly, but they're living so deeply through the memory that it's controlling them instead of showing them something differently. So we explore all avenues of that. And in terms of fate, everyone is living their own destiny. Wherever right now, as you're typing, as you're communicating, you're already fulfilling your own fate. That's your design, your willful design of how you choose to live in every moment. That's true fate. It's happening just like manifestation happens, whether you try to make it happen, it's already happening. Fate, your own design is already happening. The key is to understand why. Like in the Matrix, you're not here. Like she said, you're not here. Like she asked him if he was going to eat candy. He already knew what he was going to choose, even though he tried to act like he needed her to give him the answer. He already had the answer. He already knew what he was going to choose. He was here to understand why he made that choice, as are we all. Thank you, Omar. I actually have begun writing. I'm going to put out an ebook. I'm not giving a date because I don't know when it's going to be done. I had to scrap everything. I chose to scrap everything I had written before to start over. But I am beginning the process along with all of this rebranding and everything else. I am beginning the process of doing a little ebook, and then I will take that, I feel, further into a full book. So thank you, Omar. A Course in Miracles. I actually have not read A Course in Miracles. I'm familiar with it. I've heard that it's helped a lot of people, but I'm actually not personally, I don't know really anything about it. Aaron Abke was someone I followed very early on in my journey. I do recall receiving a lot of his teachings around that, but that was like 6 years ago. Oh, I'm sorry. You know what? I just noticed that there's a K in there. Omkar. I'm sorry. I really just now noticed that when you pointed it out. Ah, okay. Thank you. I apologize. But yeah, I'm not that familiar with it. So aside from those early lessons I received that I know they're living through me in some way, but everything that I offer here is literally what I've discovered myself. And I say that literally because my life path is my soul life path is designed to learn through experience, not through retention. So if I were to sit down and receive something like that, I would literally space out. Like, I know that's why I don't remember any of it. It's why I started pulling away from receiving a lot of things in that way, because it just went over and away. However, I would absolutely, anyone that does learn that way, I would say, hey, tune into it. And also remember, anything that you're receiving from any source is simply a reflection of what you already have within you. Everything I'm sharing here today, I'm not telling you what you need to do. I am not telling you what your life has to look like. I'm not telling you what you need to know. I'm sharing with you from my own personal experience and my own application and how that lives through me, what is there if you would like to explore it, just like a book, just like a podcast. I mean, just like an audiobook or a written book. And what I would always invite in for anything that you receive is to feel how it gets to live through you. If you were going to choose differently, if you were going to stand in your life and you were going to start focusing your attention, how would that look for you? Remember your how. Know your whys, and then start exploring your hows, but without the need for an absolute specific outcome. Like, I know right now, how do I want my life to look? I want my life to look free. I want it to look abundant. And even as I say that, I already know it's abundant. So I'm not seeking abundance. Um, I am allowing abundance to be realized through me differently. I used to think abundance was something that required a lot of effort, that in order for me to make $1 million, I had to work for and make $1 million. And as I started and I've literally just in the last like 2 months actually really explored what numbers feel like in my body in terms of money. I did not realize how much of my nervous system was rejecting that amount of money because I didn't feel like it was obtainable for me. I was affirming it. I was affirming it. I was claiming it, but my nervous system was like completely denying it. That's why when I revealed my rebranding, it's the reason why my prices went up a lot, because I was serving from such poverty that I was just serving from the least amount I could possibly make for the abundance of wisdom that I carry, which I know is valuable. It doesn't mean I'm trying to rip people off. It means that for the last 3 to 4 years, I've been serving through poverty instead of abundance. And obviously, those are paid sessions. I offer a lot of stuff for free. So I'm talking about like that specific contract. If people are going to show up and pay, if I'm going to serve through abundance, then I need to not have a resentment towards a certain amount of money because my mother line believes that electricity is scarce, and because we live on well water, we're going to run out of water, and we need to turn the lights off, and we need to conserve water, and we need to pay attention to how much we're spending on our food and our grocery bill, because money is scarce, electricity is scarce, water is scarce, finite resources all scarce. So when I was saying I'm going to be a millionaire, I wasn't actually operating for going to be a millionaire. I was still operating for what my mom instilled in me from birth, was that you'll never be a millionaire because everything is scarce. Even money, love, electricity, water, all scarce. So yeah, it's interesting. That's why we always want to go back and review, what are your core beliefs? Your core beliefs are going to determine where your reality is actually coming from. That's where your manifestations are coming from. They're always happening. Oh, thank you, Lynn. Yeah, I love, overtones. Overtones, I still do those. I do those in my own personal time. They're exceptionally powerful. Like if your nervous system is ever really tense, they do sound crazy. But that's why, like, every sound, okay, music is fractions. Music is numbers. It's math. So every tone vibrationally is a geometric structure, and that specific sound with your tone vibrationally regulates your nervous system. So it does sound crazy, but that was always the intention and purpose for it, was to offer a service that was something that would assist and support. But if you're not used to it, it definitely sounds a bit odd. Oh, of course. Yeah. Omkar, I definitely, my name being like, well, birth name is Jessica, but also Aoasi, from spirit aspect and identity aspect. There for the long time, Aoasi was something that just was so difficult. So I would always say, well, you can just call me EE. But I feel like there's something that's to be said for effort, a little bit of effort that goes into honoring the sound. It's a vibration. Omkar is a vibration. It's a sound, and it's beautiful, just like everyone's name, and that vibration is representing you. And I feel like it's oh, yep, sorry. I'm sorry. Yeah, let me do that. Actually, thank you. I kind of assumed that we would have a lot more people that would be here than there are. So I put that on. But thank you for reminding me about it. There we go. All right, slow mode's off. Um, there you go. So, and I like you guys a lot. Thank you. I really do. Thank you, Lynn. And you're right, it does. And the single step, what I say to my clients is that you're building yourself brick by brick, or baking a cake. You're baking the cake of yourself. Every brick is an ingredient in the complete product, which actually it's already made. You're just learning how to live within that mold. And that means breaking the mold that you're already so confined to. So Iwasi, I received it. I want to say it doesn't mean any specific thing. It's vibrationally the collection of wisdom that lives through that version of me that's slightly in the future. It's ahead of Jessica a little bit, not ahead of as in like better than, but it's Iwasi lives through spirit. So she lives as the state of consciousness that can see the big picture, that observes everything, that witnesses and observes but doesn't attach, that can offer the wisdom. A lot of times when I'm speaking into things here, Jessica hasn't fully completed the self-mastery but is working through it. There's a lot of things that come through from that space through spirit that's brought in and anchored through Jessica, but the only way Jessica can represent it and in terms of soul, Jessica's soul, Iwasi spirit, is the only way I can carry it through my DNA is by learning from it. So if I were just to live from Iwasi, which is what I tried to do for the longest time, to just be the wisdom, that doesn't work. Jessica, the identity, the ego, the soul, and the spirit have to work collectively and cohesively. And so I learned that Jessica was actually Jessica Aowa. Can you hear it? Jessica Aowa. There's a vibrational sequence there that is very similar. And when the numbers are broken down, I believe through, it might be through the Hebrew system. I can't remember. Trying to remember how it was presented to me. I want to say it was through the Hebrew system when it was presented to me. It was representing that part of me that lives through spirit, that's vibrationally represented as the dual mastery of soul and spirit. But I'd also want to be very, even as I'm saying that, I don't give it any extra like there's no specialty to me as Iwasi any more than there is to Jessica. They're both as powerful, they're both as amazing, and they're both necessary. Oh, that's interesting. Your name reminds me of how we pronounce Yeshua. And similarly, like I feel with even names, the letters in the names in the Hebrew alphabet, they're representing more than just the letter. They're representing a lot more. They're representing number. They're representing something specific to the name itself in relation to its soul chart, in relation to its identity. So there's a lot that can be said from what a name actually is. And that's why when I was like not wanting to accept Jessica, when I started to welcome her back in, it was very uncomfortable at first because I was so used to living from Iwasi. I almost felt like ashamed. And I also realized how much of myself I was blocking out, how much of my memories I wasn't facing. It was very, very important to allow them both to be seen, instead of trying to just live as one or the other. Thank you so much for that. Thank you guys. I appreciate that so much. And I am grateful to have those that are interested in sitting here and exploring this with me for an hour and 50 minutes. Like that means that this is something I love. It is my legacy of love. I feel is and it's also my throat chakra is also one of my strong suits. So but I also have to be aware of that. My throat and my crown tend to want to pull me. I have to really, that's why Jessica is so important. Jessica is so important. I can get that wisdom, but I got to be able to live that wisdom. And that's something I'm really learning is not to just be the carrier of information, not to just channel it, to be it, to live it. And that's where I choose to be. And that's where I choose to speak from. And that's really, especially now in the last few months, that's a bit new. I can feel where I was not taking that big aligned action that Jessica needed to see that she was actually safe in those choices. I was still holding back. And I was afraid to be seen. I really believe. I think I was afraid that if I just got up here and do this right here, that people weren't going to be interested, that I needed to make it look a certain way. And I'm seeing that that's not true. I get to be me. I get to be authentically myself, and those that are here to receive it always will. So I thank you all very much. Okay. Well, thank you. Thank you. I love them. I love them both. I do love Awasi. Jessica is definitely the way Jessica lives through me now. She lives so much through the relationship with Awasi that she holds so much self-worth and self-love. And I didn't have that a few years ago. If you look at my pictures on like Facebook and Instagram, I was still on drugs. I was performing. I wanted to make it seem like everything was happy. I was doing all the little TikTok things. 5, 6 years ago, I was still on drugs. I was pretending to be a spiritual mentor. It was all for show. It was all facade. That's why I put on weight. I was not living truth. I was living pretense. I was living facade. And when you start to shed the facade, that's why a lot of times people will gain weight on this journey. And they gain weight because they're undergoing a shift in dynamic. And it's important that we, if you looked at the pictures of Jessica from 5, 6 years ago, you would think she was happy, but she wasn't. Jessica now, she lives in peace. She lives in harmony. She lives in understanding. She lives in love. She lives in acceptance. And she's loving who she is. And that's a big thing, because that's not something I knew for my life up until the last really year or so. And you're so welcome. I'm so grateful you're here. So grateful you're here, Aurora. I wonder why it's harder for most people to look into themselves when it came so naturally to some people. Sometimes I hope my parents could be this chill too. Well, I feel like, honestly, I feel like the major difference between looking into yourself with clarity doesn't mean without reaction. Reaction is going to appear. Everyone can look into themselves with grace if you're willing to accept whatever you see. People end up coming into the belief that they're going to see something so grand that it's going to impress everyone, and they're willing to be seen in the grandness, but they're not willing to be seen in the shame and guilt. What I tell those that I work with, I don't want you to show up perfect. I want you to show up as who you are. I want to see you in the shame. I want to see you in the guilt. I want to explore that with you, because if you're not willing to be seen in that, you're going to always be trying so hard to be seen as never having that experience. And your nervous system doesn't operate in that way. Even though shame and guilt are identity markers, your identity is going to be so polarized by viewing that through that lens of judgment. Like, I'm not good enough if like, shameful is somehow bad. Shame is not bad. It's just a way that you identify what you think you feel. Guilt is not bad. It's just a way you identify with how you think you feel. And none of it's bad. But without consistent repetition, without giving yourself permission to face it and just accept what's there. You don't have to love it at first. You don't even have to like it at first. But if you can accept it, the like and the love will fall into place. It'll happen so easy. I see this is holding counsel by having informed, authentic conversation. I love that. That's so true. That's so true. Yep, absolutely. And yeah, actions, once we're ready to face, and I feel like that's the key is, and I would say we're ready when we choose to be ready. We can be ready in any moment. It doesn't take a special moment. What it does take is that devotion. I devote myself to accepting what's here right now without any other, I don't need any other thing next to it. I'm going to choose to accept what's here. And every time I meet myself in that, every single time I reinforce it. And every single time I reinforce it, that's that brick. It's building that foundation. And it's allowing me to fully see the safety that lives through acceptance. And that's why I love that. I like that you use the word inversion, because that's actually the word that came to me for what I'm offering now is inversion. It's actually the mathematical symbol inversion, which is lowercase I negative to the 1 power. And what that actually is, and you guys can look that up on Google, it'll give you a lot of descriptions on that. But it's representing that lowercase I is basically representing something that's not really there. And when we return to ourselves instead of chasing after what we think is there, that's not really there, then we begin to see the truth for what it really is. So I would invite you guys to look that symbol up, Google it, lowercase I, and then the dash, the negative, and then to the 1 power, to see that's what I received. That's what downloaded through me when I was doing my rebranding. So that's basically what Inversion Academy is it's the return to self through self exploration, somatic practices, embodiment, this neural transition therapy, transformation therapy, all of that. So but you're right, it's not punishment. Actions. And here's something really quickly, guys. Actions, you can operate from the belief system, and I'm going to close it on this. You can operate from the belief system that there's a cause and effect, because that is your causal body. You have a cause and effect body, basically. But there's another reality that exists beyond that. Again, there's always a larger picture. You can always broaden the lens. If you can accept that everything happens, that whatever happens is exactly right, exactly perfect, exactly as it should be. Not right as in right versus wrong, but it's just exactly as it's meant to be. Then you stop seeing the world through, then something bad happens if I make this choice, or there's a cause and effect. So we could see it as consequences. I like to see it as blessings. Everything that comes to me, no matter what, is a blessing. Everything that happens through me, no matter what, is a blessing. Everything is gifting me an opportunity to better understand myself. So there we go. If I'm better understanding myself, then I am also choosing to love consequences. Like, there can still be consequences, but how do I view the word consequences? I view consequences as a blessing. So therefore, consequences, blessings, one and the same. And that's something you get to be with, Lynn. If you don't like that word, get to explore why you don't like that word. Why does it trigger you? And get to see what lives beneath that word. You're very, very welcome. And you pronounce my name Awasi. And yep, there's no problems, just opportunity. All right, my loves, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for receiving. I guess I'll just leave this open and leave it public, since I've had more that dropped in later. I really thank you so much for these exchanges. I love it. I could seriously do it all day, every day. I will have more of these coming through. So if you really like having the lives, if you like having the interaction, if you like having the exploration, then please just set your notifications. If you're new here, just be sure you subscribe and set the notifications. And if this has assisted you and you think it will assist somebody else, please share. Please share. I'm trying to get my algorithm out there so I can connect with more people, and I would love it. I would love to know that it's serving more people. So thank you. I love you. Mwah. I appreciate you so much. And I hope to see you next time. I will have all my information in the description coming up. So look for that website, links to my services, email, all that stuff. I got to go get it all together. I will have it updated in the description. If you're interested, now that I have a website, you will be able to access everything through that. So be on the lookout for that. And yeah, until next time, Adonai.